Previous Congress put that there in the early 60s in the height of the Cold War. There's a little visitor's guide that people get when you do tours late at night. You've probably seen your constituents and visitors and friends get the guide. If you turn, I think it's about to page 21. It explains why that's there. And it says, Congress voted to put that there as a rebuke to the Soviets' worldview at the height of the Cold War. Why? Because communism, socialism, find their root in Marxism. And Marxism begins with the belief that there is no God. It's wrong. And this Congress made a stand those many years ago, and we should do it again. We're different, we're distinct, we're exceptional, because we acknowledge that right there, our motto. It doesn't say in government we trust. It says in God we trust. And we better remember that. He has blessed us with his grand experiment in self-governance now for almost 2.5 centuries. And by God's grace, we are working hard and we are delivering on our promise to make America great again. This is without a doubt the most important vote of this Congress, and I think this may be the most important vote that any of us take in our entire lifetimes. And everybody better remember it, however you vote today. My friends, the President of the United States is waiting with his pen. The American people are waiting for this relief. We've heard enough talk. It's time for action. Let's finish the job for him. Vote yes on the bill. With that, I yield back.
And that was House Speaker Mike Johnson talking about the big, beautiful bill, saying that the bill was drafted not for the elites, not for Democrats, but for the working American people. It's going to make America safer, it's going to make the border more secure, and it's about common sense. And we're moving on. Representatives is on the verge of passing this one big beautiful bill, and this comes after late-night negotiations amongst Republicans, which yielded a consensus. Our Washington correspondent, Luis Eduardo Martinez, joins us now live from the Capitol with the latest. Luis, what happened last night? What changed for the House Republican holdouts for them to support the last procedural vote to advance this bill?
Yes, Don, last night, well, actually early morning at 3 a.m., 23 minutes past 3 a.m., finally House Republicans got the votes to pass the first and last procedural hurdle before a final vote on the one big beautiful bill. So this was actually the longest time in recorded history in Congress that a vote had been kept open. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson did not want to close the session but keep on going. Part of the strategy that Speaker of the House Mike Johnson had all along of exerting maximum pressure on lawmakers to keep the ball rolling on this process. Now let's listen to House Republican Conference Chair Congresswoman Lisa McClain had to say about the deadlock that was unlocked last early morning today. Let's listen.
I think what those holdouts were doing was exactly what we were all doing. We are advocating for our districts, right? We live in a republic. We all advocate for our districts, and our districts at times are very different and very diverse. So I think we all got together. We all wanted to get to a yes. And then last night, I think, what was it, 3 in the morning, after having several conversations with each other and the president, we've concluded that this is the best, most conservative bill that we can put on the floor to pass for the American people.
So, Don, even Speaker of the House Mike Johnson confessed to having drank an unhealthy amount of energy drinks to keep awake overnight to get this procedural vote over. We know that there were some last-minute negotiations in between the leadership team of the House Republican Conference and their members, but also with the president, who was up at night as well, tweeting throughout the night to move the process forward. And as we just heard from Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, voting is about to begin on the one big beautiful bill, and it's expected to pass and head to the president's desk tomorrow, Don.
And Luis, what role did President Trump play in the reconciliation process? The bill does contain a bulk of his campaign promises.
That is very true. So the one big beautiful bill contains no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. It contains funding for the border wall. It contains the extension of the 2017 Trump era tax to be extended, all of which, and of course, $1.2 trillion in spending cuts of the federal budget. Those are all things that President Trump promised during his campaign. Now, throughout the 14-month-long process, because this began before November 5th of last year, President Trump allowed for the House Republican Conference under the leadership of Speaker Mike Johnson to play out the process and, of course, every now and then exert public pressure on lawmakers who were opposing certain parts of the bill. Let's listen to what Speaker of the House Mike Johnson had to say about the president's involvement.
The president's very engaged. He was, very helpful in the process. He helped answer questions and articulate his vision and what this bill will mean for the country and his agenda. And I'm really appreciative of his leadership.
Now, Don, we also know that one of the key things that unlocked how those holdouts overnight to support the bill and move it forward was a compromise with President Trump, where he is now going to, or at least promised the House Republican Conference, that he will implement the work requirements on Medicaid benefits. So the work requirements are people who are able-bodied, 19 years old to 64, who are not disabled. They have to at least prove that they're either working 20 hours a week, volunteering 20 hours a week, or receiving at least 20 hours a week of schooling. Now, in the original text, the work requirements were going to be implemented starting in 2029, but one of the compromises that President Trump made with House Republicans was that starting 2026, those work requirements will kick in. And of course, also, we don't know the details because all these things happen behind closed doors, but it is suspected that President Trump will also fill in the gaps in reining in some of those green energy credits from the Inflation Reduction Act through executive action. So the president allowed for Congress to play out its process, but also played a key role in unlocking those holdouts to join in for final passage of the bill, which we're expecting to see in the next hour or so.
Luis, how have Democrats responded? What's the state of play right now with the bill?
Well, House Democrats played their last card with what it's called the Magic Minute. So it's a procedural move that the minority can use right before voting on a bill begins. In this case, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries took to the House floor and spoke for a record amount of 8 hours and 44 minutes to delay as long as possible the voting of the one big beautiful bill. It's worth mentioning that Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy, former Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy, held the previous record with 8 hours and 32 minutes. So he surpassed that by over 12 minutes and holds the record now both in the Senate and in the House. Democrats hold the record for the longest filibustering in the Senate and the use of the Magic Minute on the House floor. But of course, once that was exhausted, we just heard Speaker of the House Mike Johnson opening now votes for the one big beautiful bill. And the path is clear for House Republicans if they vote alike at 3 a.m. in the morning, where everyone on the House Republican Conference, except one, Brian Fitzpatrick from Pennsylvania, voted in favor of the one big beautiful bill. Back to you, Don.
Okay, Luis, thank you very much. Next, the White House plans to appeal after a federal judge blocked President Trump's asylum ban at the southern border.